at the age of 21, I decided that I wanted to go to the Dominican Republic and become a dentist. You know, I wasn't really thinking things through. I didn't even know how I was going to make the money to be able to get there, but I figured it out.
I didn't think I would ever do a fucking podcast. I didn't ever imagine doing that. It made me realize that my purpose is to help others reach the goals and reach their full capacity. And if I can impact somebody's life, that is bigger than money. That is bigger than anything else.
What's up, guys? This is Dr. Alex Plains with Jeremy Applegate, where we teach you how to stream your life. Welcome, Jeremy. How are you today?
What's going on? What's going on?
Well, we had a productive week. I was just with Ryan Alford at
Yes.
the Radcast
Yeah.
in South Carolina. What an experience that was. Those guys gave me amazing hospitality. Super cool guy. Check out his podcast. One of the top 5 podcasts in business right now in Apple. You got to check it out. So really cool guy. So it was a great experience. Can't wait for you guys to listen to the story of Dr. Plains and where we started and where we are now. So it's a great podcast.
Yeah, I would think that it kind of builds off what we want to talk about today. You know, don't give up, you know, having resiliency, fortitude. So I'd love for, we've dabbled in this. Like, we really haven't taken this to a personal level, right?
Yeah.
You know, with respect to our backgrounds and how we got to where we are. Let's dive into that. Let's understand that, and let's hopefully we'll inspire and motivate some people today, and they'll understand that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
I love it. All right, let's go.
Go for it. So let's back it up. How did Dr. Plains become Dr. Plains?
That's an interesting question. Well, I was, as you guys know, I was, born in Hialeah, Florida, 39 years ago, to be exact. And my parents were immigrants. You know, they left Cuba in 1980. They ended up leaving Cuba. My grandfather ended up leaving Cuba after 15 years of attempting to leave Cuba.
15 years? He tried to get out of Cuba?
Yes, he tried to get out of Cuba for 15 years. His sisters were already here. He luckily had sisters that left Cuba in the mid-1960s.
Did they escape or did they leave?
No, they left legally. Left legally. At that point, you can still leave Cuba in an airplane.
Oh, okay.
So they left Cuba. He was really lucky that he had him. And finally, after 1980, my aunt, may she rest in peace, called him and said, you guys are able to leave Cuba, but you need to fly to Costa Rica, live in Costa Rica for possibly a year or two, and then we're going to transfer you to the United States. So
Why did you have to live in Costa Rica? Why did they have to live in Costa Rica?
as you know, that they were not allowing people to come into the United States straight from Cuba, so you had to become a resident in Costa Rica to then come into the United States. And it was very costly.
Yeah.
So my aunt was in a very good standard of living. You know, her and her husband did very, very well in New Jersey, and they were able to get him out.
Wow.
So my mom had to stay there an additional year with my dad because they were married, and in order for my dad to get out with my mom was not going to leave my dad behind, so she waited another year with him, and they finally ended up leaving like in 1981, 1982. So my family taught me from the very young age about struggles and being, having a lot of resilience and fortitude and strength and commitment to what you want to do. They came in. My grandmother started working in a sewing factory. My grandfather started working as a welder for under $5 an hour, working 40
This was in the 80s, right? When they got in here.
Yeah. That was in the 80s. As you know, interest rates were at 15 to 17%. Yep. But cost of the houses was a lot. I remember the first townhouse they bought that was like under $70,000 in that time, brand new. But the interest rates were really, really high. So the cost of living was a little, shaky, but the wages were really low as well. So then I ended up growing up. I went to Catholic school throughout my whole entire life. They did the best that they can in order to
wait a minute. They did the best they could. What do you mean by that?
Were
you a problem student? Or
no,
what?
in order to pay for it. It was very, very costly.
Oh, your parent. I got you.
It was very, very costly. And then, to break it down very simple, then at the age of 18, I started working in sales. I was going to get a bachelor's degree in sales and wanted to, run, or I was going to get into the investment realm of things, into the financial market, become a financial advisor of some sort. But I always had a passion for dentistry, as you know.
Yep.
So at the age of 21, I decided that I wanted to go to the Dominican Republic and become a dentist. You know, I wasn't really thinking things through. I didn't even know how I was going to make the money to be able to get there. But I figured it out. You know, I got financial aid. My grandfather co-signed for me. May God bless his soul. And I signed up in January, and in April 30th, May 1st, I was on an airplane to the Dominican Republic.
I think that's important for everybody to understand that. Like, you gave yourself a goal, and you were committed, no matter what, to making that happen.
Yeah. And sometimes you can't be afraid to jump into the deep end, even though it's kind of scary. You got to take those leaps of faith and just, go for it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And, yes, the challenges and the trials and struggles and everything like that built that mindset that you had at that time. They influenced you, right? Your family influenced you. You're like, well, hell, if they can get from Cuba, it takes 15 years and they don't give up and they finally get over to the U.S., why can't I?
Yeah, there was moments in my life that when I was growing up as a kid, that my grandfather was working 60 to 70 hours a week. He would leave one job and then work another job, just like my grandmother would have to be up at 3 in the morning in order to start at 4 or 5 in the morning and work all the way to 4, then get home, cook, clean, attend the household. So they were very devoted to family and giving me the best future that I can possibly get, and I can't be any more prouder. It was in a way that I couldn't let them down.
Yeah, yes, you said that perfectly because, they put their faith in you, right?
Yeah, they put complete faith, and there was a point that my grandfather, when I was in the Dominican Republic, he took out, he got his credit card because I was walking to school every single day, and I made him a promise that if I get through the first year and 8 months in the Dominican Republic walking to school and back, that he can help me get a car. And he completed his
promise.
His promise, correct? Thank you. He completed his promise, and he got me a car. And luckily, for the last 2 years that I was there, I had a car. But there was times there where I would come home from school on a long day. I was starting at 8 in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, all the way to 5, 6, 7 p.m. sometimes even 8, when we were doing labs and taking care of patients. And I would walk into a house with no water.
Yeah.
Or no electricity. I have tests, and then all of a sudden we lose electricity for 3 to 4 hours, and there's I got a test tomorrow, and I got to study, so I got to figure out where I'm going to go study for this exam. Like, here we're blessed, like, and people that come up with excuses that they can't go to school or they can't accomplish what they want is complete and utter bullshit, because if you really want to get something done, you can actually get it done. You're just being lazy. And you're not being strong. You're not being resilient.
Yes, and I think, and I hate saying it this way, and I'm not categorizing everybody in this situation, but people these days, they just give up so easy, and it just drives me crazy. Like, stop giving up.
Because it's conformity.
It's insane. Like, if you want something bad enough, then obviously you didn't want that bad enough. If you're willing to give up, if you're willing to wash it away, if you're willing to jump ship, fill in the blank.
Exactly.
You didn't want it bad enough.
Nope. It's like what I said last week. We all have goals, but most of us identify goals as dreams and wishes. When you want to go, you got to really write it down, and you got to make sure that you accomplish it, and you put deadlines on yourself on when this goal was to happen. For example, something really, really easy that everyone understands. I knew that when I graduated from dental school, I was graduating in July. I knew that in June of 2010, 2010, I was going to be taking my national Part 1 exam. And I did it, and I passed it in the first attempt. And the reason I did that was because I was prepping a year in advance for that exam, that I knew that date was the one that I was going to pick. And a buddy of mine says, schedule the date, because if you schedule the date, you have to be there for that date.
You hold yourself accountable.
You hold yourself accountable. And that was one of the best advices I got. And I passed it. Same thing for Part 2. I said I was going to apply to 20 to 25 dental schools across the United States. I got into 2 out of the 25. I was working as a dental assistant during that time for $8 an hour. I was taking that money and using that money for application fee and for travel fee. There was a time that I had to go to Connecticut Connecticut is not far from Florida,
Right.
right? And I literally took 4 planes to get there. Took me over 10 hours to get over there from layover to layover to layover to
And
layover.
just for an interview to get into dental school.
That's right. And the reason I did it that way is because I couldn't afford a more expensive ticket.
Yep.
So where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Amen.
And if I had to drive there, I would have had to have driven there. There was a time that I flew to Ohio to interview programs, and I literally drove 4 hours from Youngstown, Ohio to Dayton, Ohio to see a program, 4 hours back and forth the same day.
Yep.
Just to be there just to be there to look at the program, not even for an interview. It was just I pushed myself with the director so hard that they had to allow me to see that program. I mean, I literally sent over 25 emails to that director just to be able to visit the program.
And that's part of resiliency, is being consistent with and not stopping until you get some kind of an answer.
Yep, that's the same thing when I wanted to get my first practice. I mean, I got denied by over 5 banks, and I tried over and over and over again till I was like, finally, I got approved, and I was like, it's about time, right? But I had to produce certain amount of numbers where I was working, collect certain amount of money. I asked the bank the right questions, like how much money do I need to collect or take home every single month in order for me to approve for this loan? And once I figured that out, I got already a step ahead, and I made sure that I was hitting those metrics every single month.
And it's funny, the people that told you no in the beginning, they came back begging for business.
Everyone told me no.
Yeah.
Everyone told me no. I mean, I had family members that said, I'll see you back in 2 months.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
In this last event that I spoke to, out of 10 students that go to a third world country to try to get medical training or dental training, 8 of them come back.
Yeah.
Because they can't be resilient. They don't want it bad enough.
They don't want it bad enough.
And that's the way I live life. When somebody tells me no, you're not going to get that. That just makes me even angrier.
So I need to start telling you no more often?
You need your support team, right? But I wouldn't expect that from you. But it hurts when it's somebody you really care about and they're telling you no, that you're not going to be able to do that. And you think they're going to be supporting you, but they're actually weighing you down. And that's one big piece of advice that I got to share with you guys. If you have people around your life that are not aligned with your dreams and your goals and your vision of where you want to get at, they shouldn't be in your life anymore. You got to remove them completely. You got to allow yourself to surround yourself with people that want you to elevate and excel in your life, not people that want to bring you down or stop you.
Amen. You need that support system in your house and in your business, for sure. 100%.
Yep. And then, as we know it, we went through the challenges with the offices, but unless we're going to be here for 2 hours, I can go year by year with all the challenges, but we'll talk about those for a later day. But you tell us, Jeremy, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I mean, I have that same kind of story, similar story. It's like childhood was as best as it could be, right? Mom had everything, had intentions to make sure that we were great boys, great kids, great men. She raised great men, I think, me and my brothers. I went through a few stepdads in my childhood, and that wasn't pleasant experiences. And but I think that on that side, that created a situation where I was determined not to be that person. Like, I'm not going to verbally or physically abuse anybody in my life because I got it.
Of course.
And it didn't feel good.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it really resonated with me. And when I had my daughter, but when my daughter was born, I made it a point to never, ever do that kind of stuff. And it was a point where, I had to check myself a couple times, because you do fall victim to those situations because they influenced you in some capacity, and you don't realize it.
Exactly. They change your persona.
It's crazy. It's crazy. You're like, I'm never going to do that. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what the heck am I doing?
Yeah.
And it's easy to fall back into that situation. I'm not going, and I'll jump ahead, but it's just, resiliency is an important word, and it's a word that we're talking about right now, because I could have easily given up. When the economy crashed in 2008, I lost everything. I mean, everything. House, cars, everything. I was going to the city to help them ask for help from my water bill.
I remember you told me.
And, you know, my electricity was off for an entire summer because I couldn't afford to pay the bill.
Wow.
You know, and it just goes to show, like, resiliency is the number one thing. Fortitude is the number one thing. You can never, ever, 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 I wish I could say 100 evers, give up. Because if you do, it's over.
It's over. It's so true. It's over.
Life will pass you by, and then you'll be like, holy shit, what just happened? Well, you gave up.
You don't get time back.
You don't get time back. And, you know, I think that it gives you a situation now, like, we appreciate all that, right?
Makes us who we are now.
And we're like, we don't take it for granted.
Nope.
You know, there's many days in our lives. I mean, we're not always bubbly people, you know, but there's many days in our lives where we wake up and we're like, damn, do I really want to do it today?
Exactly. Yeah, there's times that you don't want to wake up. You remember, I said it a couple podcasts ago. There's days that you don't want to get up.
But we do.
We do, and we got to continue to push, and we got to continue to, like you said, be resilient and strong and committed to what you want to accomplish, because if you give up, what is the purpose?
What is the purpose? What is your purpose? I think that's what people struggle with these days too. What is my purpose? Is my purpose to help people? Is my purpose to, it can't be financially driven.
No, it can't.
You know, your purpose has to be something bigger than money, right?
Big, much bigger.
So you have to decide, what the hell is my purpose? What am I going to do with my life? And you don't have to have it all completely figured out, but you have to have, like, the first step, right? The first stone to step on.
Exactly.
To figure that stuff out. It's important, because if you don't take that first step, you're never going to take the next one and the next one and the next one. And then what do? You're stuck again. You're
stuck, completely stuck. Everyone always sees all these stories of, you know, people that are super wealthy or they accomplished it, and no one understands the hard times they had to go through. I was reading an article about this founder of a hedge fund. I think it's called Renaissance, and he slept over 8,000 hours in his office.
I would believe that.
Over 8,000 hours in his office. So what price is he willing to pay? People talk about work-life balance, right? Me and Ryan were talking about that, and he agrees. He's like, there's no such thing as work-life balance.
I agree, too.
There's no such thing as work-life balance. There really isn't. You can, obviously, you have to be involved with your family, but you also got to make time for your business, because if you take your eye away from the business, you know, they're going to play around in there.
No, I agree. And I think part of that is you said family. And I think family is a heavy influencer, you know, in how resilient you are and how you build your purpose and how you build your goals. You know, both of us, your family's a great example. I am going to get to the United States no matter what. Why?
No matter
because
what
of my
it takes.
family. I am going to fight and fight and fight and figure it out because of my family. You're going to go to dentist school. You're going to get that shit done because your family. I think we figured out a purpose for everybody today.
Yes, amen. It's very important. We do it for our family, you know, we do it for our legacy, we do it for what do you want to remember. I wake up every single day and I look at myself in the mirror when I brush my teeth every single morning, and I always imagine myself in my sign a little dark, but I always imagine myself in my deathbed. And when I'm in my deathbed, what do I want people to say about me, or what do I want to remember about myself?
Yeah.
And I always want to be remembered about how much impact I left in this universe.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting a little teary-eyed here, because that's relevant that you said that, and I really am processing. Like, I'm telling you guys, family, but when it hits me, like, I do this because of my family. It really
it's so true,
hits me
man.
in the heart.
It's very powerful emotions. Yeah. So, you know, you got to stay consistent. You got to stay resilient. Whatever industry you're in, don't give up. You know, here we're very in a cushy environment where we walk into everywhere and there's AC. You know, you get fresh produce, fresh meat. You know, there's countries in this planet that they don't even get water. They don't have running water. They don't have clean toilets. They don't have fresh produce. They don't have fresh meat. So let's start being a little bit more thankful, not only to ourselves, but to those around us, and a little kinder to our friendly neighbor, right?
Amen.
Or humans.
Yeah.
And let's stop being so reactive, and let's start trying to get along a lot better and focus on your dreams always. Thank you for listening.